welcome back to the Healing Black Women podcast. I am your host, LaQuanda Roberts Buckley. Tonight, I am going to be talking about moving beyond disappointment. So, this is something that I've had to deal with a lot of my life. For those of you who know, over 10 years ago, after I got my initial diagnosis of bipolar 1 disorder, I couldn't work anymore. And it was a very tough time in my life because I was new to my field in mental health and as a therapist, and I was really excited and passionate about what I was doing. And then I got sick, and it seemed like everything that I bust my butt for just went away. And that was really, really, really hard. And I think saying it was hard was an understatement because I could no longer work. I couldn't take care of my daughter. Her father took over her primary care, and I was just left with a whole lot of nothing on the inside. And so throughout that and regaining my identity and who I was and the things that I wanted to do in life, everything didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. It took me 3 years before I was able to obtain substantial employment, and not, just until I was well enough. But, a lot of that was just like nonstop looking for jobs, and just constantly seeing those, thank you for applying, but thank you for, and it would just hit you in the chest. And even fast forwarding to now, there's certain projects and things that I wish that I could do more consistently, but I just don't have the capacity all the time. My emotional wellness and strength is superb at the moment. It has been for the past couple of years, for the most part. But when I can't do certain things, it hits. So how do you move past that disappointment? And it's not, this simple thing to answer all the time. I think the first thing that I had to remember is I have to be honest about where I am right there in that moment. I think sometimes we're taught from a very young age that if you're disappointed, disappointment happens in life. You just have to bounce back. You'll be better for it next time. And all those things might be true, right? But what do I do right now? And one of the things I had to realize was, what? That junk hurts. Like, I think one of the better ways to move from a point of disappointment is to first acknowledge that you're disappointed in the first place, and acknowledge those feelings around it. You can't pretend it. You can't fake it. You have to acknowledge that is where you are in that moment. That I'm dealing with this thing, and this thing hurts a whole bunch. I think another thing is that, and I said it a long time ago, when you feel disappointed, sometimes it can become overwhelming, and you can going down that rabbit hole where you think that you're a failure and you mess things up all the time. That is a great time to remember your wins, because you've developed some kind of skill set, some kind of mindset, some kind of process that got you to the point or to the level where you were trying something new anyway, right? So you also have to remember those wins and the things that you've accomplished in the past. I think sometimes when I begin to beat myself up, I can easily forget that, girl, you done did some stuff, some great stuff. And so in remembering that, I'm still acknowledging how I'm feeling, but I'm also giving strength and weight to the things that I've done previously. and reminding myself who I am. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to remind yourself who you are. Yes, you didn't get X, but there's a whole bunch of other letters, right, that came before X that you have gotten before. So you have to remind yourself, and that's one thing, like let me go remind myself of who I am. Let me look at my resume. Let me look around at my apartment. Let me look at my car. Let me look at my friends. Let me see how I've upgraded myself. And see, the thing is, when you think about upgrading yourself, it ain't always connected to finances. Upgrading yourself also means upgrading the quality of the people you're around. And when I say the quality of the people you're around, I'm not talking about how they dress. We're talking about their thought processes, how they care about you, how they pour into you. And all those things are important to acknowledge. And I have to say, another thing is, if you need to cry, cry. If you want to scream, scream. If you need to curse, curse. Quit holding back your rawest emotions, right? Sometimes when we acknowledge where we are, like I said in the first time, we're acknowledging, we're sitting with those emotions, but sometimes you need to let that stuff out. I remember I was mad one day. I was just mad. And I did a Zuko moment. Zuko from the Avatar, he got mad and he went on that mountain and he was screaming. He was screaming at the top of his lungs, and with a storm out. It was raining one day. I took myself outside barefoot, and it was nighttime, and I screamed. It was thundering, so no one really heard me. I screamed to the top of my lungs, and I felt so much better because I was like, oh, I could do that. I could release all that was built up in me. And sometimes you have to find an avenue to release those things that are built up in you. These days, when I am coming into a point of disappointment, I keep, and let me show you, for those who are on our website, healingblackwomen.com, this is actually a video. I have this right here. What is that? That is a list of all the ideas I have had with regards to healing Black women since 2018. Some of them did not work. But I don't ball that piece of paper up. I don't throw it away, because this is the thing, right? The disappointment or the thing may not have taken place simply because it just wasn't the right time. Some of those ideas that I had, if I would have tried to implement them back in 2019, they would have flopped. I didn't have the capacity, nor did I have the resources available to be able to implement that. A lot of the things that I'm doing now with Healing Black Women are things that I was disappointed in back in 2019 that I couldn't do. But I can do them now. So timing is also a part of it. But you really have to sit back and pull yourself back sometimes and ask, what are we doing here? Does disappointment means it's not going to happen forever? Does it? Are we letting this go? Or do we need to sit back and regroup and think about some things? So moving beyond disappointment always starts with acknowledging that it's there first. Acknowledging that it's there first. Experiencing those emotions. Remembering those things that you have accomplished, so you're not beating yourself up. Remembering the quality and not quantity. And also acknowledging that you just might not be at the right time or around the right people or have the right resources to make what you want to happen at this time. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It just may be not right now. And if you're disappointed in a person, well, I think that's another podcast. All right, all. If you'd like to see this video, you can go to www.healingblackwomen.com, and don't forget to check out our group registration. We have virtual coloring night, and our support group will start back up in 2024. Until next time, I am your host, LaQuanda Roberts Buckley. You can find me at LaQuanda on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.